Hey everyone, Hksniper here. So, the last video was on things German reenactors should stop doing, and in particular, it touched base on two weapons, and it was, as I mentioned, a part of a series based off of a single video that went on for too long. So, this will be considered the second part, might be a third. We'll see what happens here as I think of more stuff, and we'll go down the list here. So, let's get right into this. So, the next thing I had on my list, and this is a major issue with German reenactors that I see, and we'll call this the Uber Bling. And you ever see some of those guys? You see World War II veterans from Russia. They attend the parades, and they have like a chest full of medals and ribbons and all sorts of stuff that I'm sure in their actual experience were rightfully earned. But reenactors, you see this a lot. That's an exaggeration, obviously, with what you see, but it's some guys it's pretty close. Um, Now, I'm no person that's against the Germans wearing their awards on their uniforms as reenactors. It is something that the Germans actually did, and they wore their medals, their ribbons, etc. on their field uniforms. I'm not against that. When it comes to certain medals, there's certain clasps and so forth that I think as reenactors we have no business wearing, but it's a whole different can of worms, and I don't really feel like opening that one up. So we'll just stick with the Uber Bling. What am I talking about there exactly? Like I said, the last one point was an exaggeration, but you see some guys, they're waltzing around with a sleeve full of tank destruction badges, and they've got everything from partisan badges to a whole bunch of stuff all over their chests, their sleeves. They've got cuff titles from every single division on the world. Uh, it's the most farby thing ever, and it's something that needs to stop. Stick with your basic awards. Stick with the awards that are realistic. I mean, you're not going to be trouncing around too much with 17 tank destruction badges and uh, gold medals here and gold medals there, and you don't have a wound badge kind of thing. Let's just keep it realistic, keep it to the point. Things like your general assault badges, your wound badges, etc. And make sure that you're wearing them per your unit standards. And not just with that, but also wearing them and having knowledge about them. So when you're asked about those particular awards by the public, you can answer them. And it's actually a very good conversation starter. People are always really curious about the little badges and medals and stuff that you wear on your uniform as Germans. It's a great conversation starter with the public, and it's something you should use for that purpose, not to try to create this make-believe respect that you think everyone should give you. So the next thing down on that list, haircuts. As a German, you spend at least $2,000, if not close to that, on your impression alone, and you can't go out and get a $20 haircut. A lot of Germans running around with sideburns, long hair. They did have long hair, but it was to a specific standard along the sides. If you're curious about that, just look up wartime pictures. There's so much evidence of that. Look it up and go from there based off of what you see was common around your time frame and what nation you're representing. Like I said, we're talking about German reenactors here. Stick with the program, and it goes a long way to your impression. Trust me. Another thing I want to cover here, I see very often, is the carrying of weapons, and in particular, I see a lot of low porting going on. If you don't know what low porting is, I had troubles finding pictures of it. So here's a picture from SWAT 4. I know, great example. But low port is a modern stance, The Germans had a very particular way about carrying and using their weapons. I recommend picking up some of the drill manuals. I recommend picking up some of the training manuals that are converted over to English. There is a website called GermanManuals.com, I believe. Just type in German translated manuals in Google, it should pop up. Great resource. Really awesome guys right there. They put a lot of work into translating those into English. The covers look exactly how they should, but inside it's all in English, and it's an awesome resource. Great resource. And like I said, low port needs to stop. Start carrying your weapon like a German. Another thing, this is a stab at the GIs too, and I'm only stabbing at the Germans because you play along with it. And this is the whole when at the end of the battle, the Americans win the day for the 1 millionth time in a row, and they show up and say you didn't take a hit or whatever, and they're yelling at you to get on your knees. Now, I have scoured through wartime pictures of German prisoners of war, and I see them in one of two places. They are either sitting down on their butt, not on their knees, or they're standing. And they can have their hands up. They sometimes do it, sometimes don't. But this whole get on your knees thing is some sort of power play fantasy. I don't play along with it personally, and it was not a real practice. If we're going to practice actual tactics and actual ongoings, the whole get on your knees thing, from photographic evidence that I'm looking at, did not happen. So it should not be practiced. And it, Germans, German reenactors, it leads to a lot of problems. Now, I'm not blaming all GIs with this, but it leads to a lot of issues and usually a lot of harassment and problems when you do the whole get on your knees thing. Just don't do it. And when I bring it up, a lot of guys are like, well, they're pointing a rifle at me, they're pointing their double wielded farby revolvers at me, or whatever. Point a weapon at me and they're yelling at me to get on my knees. What am I supposed to do? And I always tell them, you're role playing as a German. Why are you following English commands? Just pretend like you don't know what they're saying. You don't understand. Just hold your hands up, yell at them in German, and just go with that. Act confused. Trust me, it works. I've done it several times. Sometimes when I play as a medic, German medic, I end up getting overrun and I get captured. And I've had GIs do that to me in the past. They stick a gun in my face, they want me to get on my knees. I just act like I don't understand what you're saying. I throw my hands up, I throw out a bunch of German, and they get confused, and usually they just they don't know what to do with you. So I think that whole process can be defeated by us as Germans ignoring it. Just ignore it. Don't play along with that. And I'm going to touch real quick on this last one here. This is happens at least once every battle. Towards the end of the battle, as well as the whole get on your knees thing, is the hero last stand. Okay, especially towards the very late stages of the war on the Western Front. The German soldier is, did it happen with the last stand stuff? Yes. But I would suspect that the majority of the German soldiers, just like any other soldier, they want to go home. The war's blatantly coming to an end. The cause, whichever cause it may be in their mindset, it's over. Your typical German soldier is not gonna, in the last part of a battle, come charging out with his bayonet, yelling and screaming, or standing up with an MP40 and letting her rip at the hip. It's just not something likely to occur. Like I said, did it happen? Yes, probably. There were some very loyal units and fanatical units that stayed extremely loyal to the whole thing to the end. But we're here portraying the norm, and like I said in the last video, the norm, not the exception, and that's what we need to stick with. And plus, it creates a lot of chaos. The whole last stand thing creates a whole lot of chaos. It's pretty dangerous, and it usually results in people getting into hand-to-hand stuff that they really shouldn't be doing. Hand-to-hand stuff should be more planned out and typically done amongst people who know each other fairly well. Otherwise, tempers are going to fly. And next thing you know, that hand-to-hand looks really realistic, doesn't it? So that's the second part of this. I know it was a real quick shot, went right into it, and we'll look into this further. I know there's a few more topics that I have in mind, so there will more likely be a third one. And if you have any suggestions, I know one person brought up the whole weight issue in my last video. I'm not touching on that just because it's so prevalent. Um, it's not going to stop. And in my opinion, is if you're overweight, that's one thing. But if you can keep up, I really see no problem with that. As long as you can keep up, it's all about health and safety. As long as you can keep up and you know your limitations. I'm not exactly super skinny myself, but I don't look down too much on that. Obviously, yeah, some guys, I you know we're gonna touch base on this real quick here. Weight loss is a with reenacting a weight loss, that is a great kind of motivator for weight loss, in my opinion. You want to look good in that uniform. You want to portray yourself very good. It's a great motivator to go out there and hit the gym, and hit the treadmill, and start doing some running. Fantastic motivator for that. So just kind of put that into consideration. I'm not going to touch much further on that in the future. I definitely don't plan on making a video on its own on that. But like I said, if you can keep up and you can keep up safely, all more power to you. I don't look down on that. So we'll leave it at that. And I will come up with a part 3 here soon. Um, Probably I got some other videos that I'm looking at. Some of them I've done some takes on that I wasn't too happy with. I'm going to redo. I am looking into having more than just pictures popping up in the background. Maybe have some background footage of some video games or something. I know it's kind of boring having pictures like a slideshow with my voice running around. Um, as far as video game content, we'll see. There's a few video games I like to kind of cover, and some video games that I've covered in the past that I've updated, and we'll see what we got coming. So thanks for watching, everyone. Have a good night.